Imagine spending your whole life wondering if the man sitting on the throne of hip-hop might actually be your dad. That's the storm Rymir Satterthwaite has been stuck in for over a decade. He's not chasing money, not clout, just a truth that's been ducked, dodged, and legally stomped on for years. And somehow, this personal mission for answers has now turned into a legal brawl that's dragging one of the most powerful couples in entertainment, Jay-Z and Beyoncé, right into the courtroom spotlight. See, Rymir's story ain't some random "I look like him so he my dad" situation. His mother Wanda allegedly had a fling with Jay-Z in the 90s when she was still a minor. That already raises red flags. But what really shook things up is that she told Rymir over and over again as he grew up that the man he believed was his father wasn't the real one. She said it straight, Jay-Z is your dad. But while she kept saying it, Jay-Z never picked up a phone, never showed up, never even acknowledged the possibility, at least publicly. For years, Rymir tried to keep this low-key. He wasn't out here chasing cameras or tabloid headlines. He just wanted a DNA test, some kind of closure, that's it. But instead of answers, what he got was a court system that kept brushing him off, and legal teams that shut him down with procedural tricks. In 2022, the court even slapped him with an injunction saying he couldn't file any more cases against Jay-Z without special permission. They labeled his efforts frivolous. But how do you call someone's identity and family legacy frivolous? What's crazier is that Jay-Z's team didn't just deny the paternity. They turned the tables, accusing Rymir, his late mother, and his caregiver of trying to defraud Jay-Z. They said Rymir was nothing more than a guy chasing fame and money, but the man himself said multiple times, "I'm not looking for a payout, I work every day, I have my own kids, I just want peace and the truth." Then things got real shady. Witnesses started backing out, claiming they were harassed. One woman, anonymous in court records, said 2 investigators showed up at her door and tried to pressure her into signing a statement that her allegations against Jay-Z were false. She refused, but the intimidation shook her. Her family was approached too. That kind of stuff doesn't happen in everyday paternity cases. This was organized, strategic, dangerous. And where does Beyoncé come into all this? Right at the heart of it. There's this growing belief that Bey doesn't want any of this public. It's not just about protecting their image, it's about keeping their empire clean. The Carters have carefully crafted a brand built on loyalty, family, and legacy. A legal battle that suggests Jay-Z fathered a child with a minor outside the marriage? That destroys the foundation. Especially when this ain't the only time Jay's been caught up in similar allegations. And look, let's not act like this is brand new information. Jay-Z's name has been attached to whispers about other women for years. Carmen Bryan, Foxy Brown, Rihanna. Every time with that same fog of secrecy and power imbalance. Carmen once said she was pregnant when rumors of their relationship sparked. And Rihanna? There's an entire publicist's apology trail behind that drama. So what happens when power meets the truth? When lawyers and money are used not just to fight legal claims, but to bury lives and legacies? That's what this story is really about. Rymir's voice, ignored for years, is now amplified. And it's not just him speaking anymore. The whispers are turning into roars, and the empire Jay-Z built is starting to shake. There's something eerie about how this entire situation has been handled, from the carefully curated silence to the intimidation tactics that seem straight out of a thriller movie. Jay-Z isn't just denying the claims, he's treating the whole thing like a threat to the Carter brand. And let's be honest, he has a lot to lose. Billion-dollar deals, partnerships, music catalogs, the legacy he spent decades building. But that's what makes the whole thing even more suspicious. Why go so hard trying to shut down a man who says he doesn't want money, just the truth? Rymir's case isn't just legally complex, it's emotionally raw. He talks about the sleepless nights, the public judgment, and the psychological toll of growing up with questions no one would answer. This isn't some media-trained celebrity crying on camera for sympathy. This is a grown man saying he wants his kids to see him stand up for the truth, even if it takes his entire life. He's not out here throwing dirt on Jay-Z's name. In fact, he says over and over that he doesn't hate him, he just wants answers. But instead of compassion, he gets court orders and silence. And speaking of silence, let's talk about Beyonce. People have always speculated that she's more involved in covering things up than she lets on. Her image is polished to perfection, but insiders claim she's played a major role in making sure this paternity case never gets real traction. Some even believe that she's gone out of her way to protect Jay-Z from any damage, not just for love, but because everything they've built is tied together. If Jay-Z goes down, it affects her too. There's even talk that B has helped make sure certain women never get a seat at the table again. Jaguar Wright, for instance, came forward and claimed that Beyonce collaborated with Diddy to make people disappear. One of those people, Kathy White, the same woman who allegedly had damning knowledge about the Carter Empire and mysteriously passed away under suspicious circumstances. It's the kind of stuff you'd expect to hear in a Netflix documentary, not real life. Yet here we are. What's wild is that it's not just one or two names being whispered in dark corners. There's an entire list of women who've been tied to Jay-Z in some way. Carmen Bryan, who was involved with both Nas and Jay. Rihanna, who was allegedly coerced into signing her first deal under pressure. Aaliyah, whose death is still a question mark for many people close to her. There's a trail here, and it's messy. The Aaliyah connection especially makes people uneasy. Industry folks still talk about how she didn't want to board that final flight. Some say she was drugged before being carried onto that plane. That's not a conspiracy theory. It's what people in her inner circle have hinted at for years. And the rumor that Jay-Z was heartbroken when she chose Dame Dash over him, that's not speculation. That's straight from people who were in the room. The jealousy, the competition, the tension, it was real. So when people look at this Rymir situation, they don't just see a single case, they see a pattern. A man in power using that power to erase problems instead of facing them. Whether it's silencing accusers, intimidating witnesses, or paying off the right people, something ain't right. And the more people dig, the more the cracks start to show. Jay-Z's carefully guarded legacy might not survive this one if the truth keeps clawing its way to the surface. Rymir isn't backing down, no matter how many legal walls get thrown in front of him. In fact, with every door that shuts, he's only getting louder. His most recent move? A fresh lawsuit filed on May 6th, charging Jay-Z and his legal team with deception, obstruction, and a deliberate attempt to prevent the truth from ever seeing daylight. According to Rymir, Jay-Z has refused to take a DNA test for over a decade, dodging accountability while allowing the public to believe the matter has been settled. This time, though, it's not just about family ties. Rymir is claiming psychological and emotional damages, citing years of harassment, public ridicule, and slander. He's also accusing Jay-Z's team of manipulating the courts, using technicalities and jurisdictional loopholes to avoid facing the fact. The message is clear: this isn't just personal anymore, it's systemic. And the more this story unravels, the more people start to connect the dots. Take the woman known only as Jane Doe, another accuser who stepped forward with serious claims against Jay-Z, only to drop her case shortly after. But not because she changed her mind. According to her legal filings, she was cornered outside her home by men claiming to be investigators for Jay-Z's lawyers. They pressured her to sign a statement recanting her accusations. She refused. But the intimidation worked. She walked away from the legal battle, not because she was lying, but because she feared for her safety. Then there's the deeper fear, the one no one wants to say out loud. What if Jay-Z is actually guilty of everything they've accused him of? The underage relationships, the abuse of power, the cover-ups, the buried children, the silenced women. It sounds impossible until you start hearing the same tactics used over and over again. Same threats, same denials, same disappearances. Even Rihanna's origin story gives people chills now. She was barely 17 when she was flown to New York, alone, to meet with Jay-Z in a corporate office on the 29th floor. According to her own words, he joked that she could leave through the door with a deal or out the window. The audience laughed, but for real, who says that to a teenager? And why has that story always been brushed off as just industry banter? The more you look, the more it feels like Jay-Z's empire was built not just on music, but on silence. Silence from the women he left behind. Silence from the courts he beat. silence from the fans who didn't want to believe their idol could do something so dark. But that silence is breaking now. Piece by piece, testimony by testimony, and the Carter dynasty doesn't look untouchable anymore. Even Beyonce, who's often seen as untouchable herself, is under the microscope. People are questioning everything, from her involvement in suppressing Rymir's story to her alleged role in helping Jay-Z erase threats to their brand. Her clean image isn't holding up like it used to. The internet's starting to ask real questions. How much did she know? How far would she go to protect the brand? What makes all this worse is how the industry protects its own. High-powered lawyers, PR spin, media silence, it's a game, and people like Rymir are just pawns, unless they refuse to stay quiet. And that's exactly what he's doing. He may not have the money, the influence, or the platform, but he's got something stronger, a voice that won't die out. And no matter how many years it takes, no matter how many courts slam the door, he's going to keep fighting, because in the end, all empires fall. And it usually starts with the truth someone tried to bury.